Oh yeah, one more thing about remixes. Like in the beginning, like anybody who asks you to do a remix, you'll say, yeah, yeah, sure. And then what happened to me also is I ended up doing things I really didn't like tracks I didn't like, and you get stuck. So I think you have to be really honest in the field of remixing. If you don't like a track, don't remix it. Because like I don't know if anybody knows the young guys named Ego Troopers. They're like getting really hot, and they get a lot of remix requests as well. And they always ask me like, should I do this remix or should I not do it? They get the cheesiest requests. Like I got really bad requests too, but you have to be honest with that stuff because you got to stay true to yourself as well. If you get a request for something really commercial and you just don't want to go there, just don't do it. It's useless because you'll end up hating yourself later on, or it's gonna affect your reputation. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, that's just like a small detail. Oh yeah, the computers. I've told you this before, I think. Sometimes it's really good to get away from them because this is something we do all the time. We're in front of the screen, we're watching television, or surfing YouTube, listening to SoundCloud, making music, designing, like graphic designing, and sometimes it's really good to just like get the computer away and just find, even if it's an old groove box, it doesn't really matter as long as you can just play with an instrument and get to know it. It helps me a lot to get away from the computer, and also turn off your phone, turn off your internet if you're working, and you'll see that you can get a lot more done when you're just creating this vacuum of like a workspace. Even if you only have like 2 hours, just really like all the like everything that can disturb you, make sure just to turn it off. Like tell your girlfriend not. It's only like 2 hours. Just leave me alone for 2 hours. Like no television, no phones, no nothing. And it's like in the beginning it's really hard because you all of a sudden like other things, once you're in that zone you created, like all of a sudden it sounds like it feels really important that you should do the dishes or something like this. But you have to kind of try and block this thing off because then you have to be able to be in a creative place in your mind. And if you're twittering the whole time or someone's calling you the whole time, well, this is for me, of course. I don't know how it is for you, but you just get out of this zone, which is really important to be in, to be able to be creative. That's like probably getting harder and harder because you're constantly online and you're constantly texting and but it helps me a lot to just be disconnected from everything, even for an hour. I suggest you try this out. It can really help. Yeah. It's called ABL or something like this. Yeah. Yeah, this one. It actually sounds really good. Yeah. And if you just like hook it up to your controller, it sounds great. Like I don't have a real 303, so all the things you hear in all the tracks, it's this thing. Yeah, with some, of course, some effects on it. Yeah. All right. Does anybody want to know anything that we haven't covered yet? Or does anybody? Yeah.
More just just kind of a general question. What are you, who are you listening to right now? What's influencing like your taste?
Huh. I like when I'm at home. I don't listen to techno ever. Yeah, I listen to a lot of promos though, but it's getting so much nowadays that it feels like it's becoming work. Like if I don't do it like a week, it just piles up in my mailbox. It used to be like you would get vinyls, which was a lot of fun. You'd get them in the mail, but that never happened to me for some reason. Uh, but what I listen to a lot of experimental music, like Aphex Twin, Ottaker, Boards of Canada, all the Warp stuff, and jazz, but also just rock. Uh, yeah, anything I like, and but like not really techno. Um, I used to be a vinyl DJ, so I still buy a lot of vinyl when I get the chance, and I listen to a lot of vinyl. It's a different way of listening to music because it's more active. You have to actually, you only have a few, like 10 minutes, and then you have to like turn the record around, and it's more like you're really listening to it. To where like if you put on iTunes on this shuffle thing and just let it go the whole night, it starts to be just a background thing. And I don't think music should be a background thing. It should be really something you're actively listening to. But that's just like everything I'm saying here is just like my personal preference. That's how I do things. It's not the rule. Like what this synth, like the real thing, has, and this as well, as a accent and slide. So if you would just like put some notes, this is going to sound like crap, but it doesn't really matter now. Like if you hit, if you go like above the like threshold, I think you can adjust it. You activate the accent, right? And what else you can do is if you overlap notes, they start to slide. So that's like the real classic TB thing. What else I do is sometimes just kind of mess around with the MIDI effects, which is really can be really cool. So, and if you map all this to like a controller, you start to get like just have fun with it, you know. Um, Map this one. It's just fun to play around with. All right. Yeah, and of course, if you work with a real, the real thing, the whole idea changes because now you get all these like fun things like the arpeggiator, the random, the note length, and you can map this all to software. So um, this can be actually more fun than a real one, because a real one is really hard to program. Like I know one way to program a real 303 is take out the batteries for a while and put them back in, and then it'll have just random patterns, and then you work off those. But of course, this doesn't work in the. Yeah, you can't really take out the batteries. So yeah, this is a fun way to play around. Yeah, that's what I do. And then just like get a drum machine or yes, just programming things. Yeah. But like the hardware, like I've been telling you, like hardware. That's what I like, and that's what I use. But it's also there was this time where I became slave of my hardware, which is not good, because I had everything set up around me, and it was like this spaceship, mission control, and everything. I had like hundreds of meters of cable running everything, and everything was hooked up, and I could like trigger this with that, but the whole thing was just such a mess to operate, and you can only use so many things at the same time. You know, you only have two hands, so and every synth has like 30 buttons. So what happened to me was all these synths kept on staring at me because they weren't being used, and I started to feel really like guilty because I had all this hardware and I wasn't using it. And then I would need a lead, and I would look at like which machine didn't I use yet the last few weeks, and I would just try to use everything. And then also things break, and you have to fix them. So I ended up like I had this perfect studio. It just like when people visited me, they're like, "Wow, man, you've got all this stuff." And but I ended up just tearing the whole thing down, everything, and got like all the equipment. I put everything in a different room, and I just put my laptop and one synth on a table, and like started all over again. And whenever I needed something, I just went to the other room and got it, and hooked it up, and worked with it. And then maybe I needed something else, went to the room again, and like every track I did is a different setup. So, and it looks really messy, of course, because you've got all the cables running through the house, but it's much more fun that way. And I found out that maybe 80% of the equipment that I had, I never used, so I sold it just because I didn't use it. And I bet like there's a lot of happy people because I have cool machines that they will use. And now I think what I'm trying to say is the simpler you keep it, the easier it is to be creative. Like a guitar doesn't have 100 strings, you know. It's just, or you don't use 5 guitars at the same time. You just use one, and you know it really well. And that's probably the same way you should work with hardware. Because if you have all this stuff hooked up, it's really hard to just use everything. It's impossible. In synths, I just look for things that, like unique things. Like every synth has a filter, of course. But like some synths have special modulation features that, like they'll have a ring modulator, or like they'll have an input where you can use an external sound and run it through the filter. And it's pretty much once you really know how a synthesizer works, then you'll start like looking for special things. And for a long time, I didn't really know how they worked. I just kind of like twisted buttons, but after a while, if you start off with a really simple synthesizer, which has like one oscillator and a filter and like a gate, and then you start to really realize what's going on, and that's also very important, I think, because like if you look at all these plugins with like hundreds of buttons, it takes a while before you know what you're doing. And it's like for people who are beginning in music production, it can be a bit overwhelming, especially if you buy like the Ableton Live. You get all these instruments and they have all these menus and all these buttons, and you don't really know what you're doing. It's better to just take one and get to know it, and then you'll start to figure out exactly what's going on, and that knowledge will translate into any other synth, pretty much. And then you'll have a good like knowledge to start and like learn the new features that weren't in the other synth. That's something I realized probably a bit too late, but it doesn't really matter anymore. So, but like I said, the simpler the better, especially if you're starting out. So you know exactly which button does what, and if you have some like even hardware sequencers, they can be really like what you can do with them is really limited. But if you really like push it to the limit, you start finding out new ways of working with the machines and using those limitations as a creative way to get things done in a different way. So I think it's really important. Like we have so many plugins, and it's pretty much free. Like we can, I mean, officially it's not free, but everybody can get pretty much anything. You get hundreds and hundreds of plugins, and you don't know what they're doing. And you're looking at this list of plugins, and you're just picking one and twisting some buttons and going through some presets, and it's not really a creative process sometimes. And I try to like watch out with that. Just keep it simple. And also, like with hardware, if you're really into hardware, it's really cool to start like doing some do-it-yourself things and buying some kits and just learn how to solder it. And you can make your own cables, and it really gets the whole experience of making music gets more like a physical thing, and that really helps me. Doesn't probably not everyone, but really helps me to get things done. That's my next plan. Yeah, that's. I really want to get into that. Yeah, the thing is, like all the synths now I've used, and I want to like the synths that I have, and most of them on the market, they're just limited to what they can do, which is a good thing. You can go really far. But like sometimes you'll think, I want to be able to modulate that oscillator with that filter or this and that, and then unless you like open up the thing and solder like new connections, you can't really do it. But if you have a modular, you can just do anything. Yeah. So maybe it's also dangerous. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't get into it. Yeah. Maybe there's a reason why I haven't. Because it's been on my mind for a while, but we'll see. It's not that important. First of all, it's I think mostly in the programming of the beats. If you put a lot of variation in it, this is very time consuming. Like you have to, like you can be working just cutting up things all night, but it really pays off in the end. I'll show you a project maybe. So the drums in this, they're pretty. There's a lot. Yeah. So I think it's little things like just moving it a bit before the beat or a bit after that kind of gives us this shuffle. That does it for me. And I just do it by hand, everything. Just get really on the wave and then cut it up and move it a bit. And like even this right here is probably, yeah, that's even two different claps, just cut up a bit. All right. And then this one is, that's a drum computer I recorded and just kind of layered. And it's got this shuffle on it. Like, this is a Korg ER, I think. And it's just like a button, and you just, you dial in the shuffle amount, and it just gets it more like human. And I think you can do this in Ableton itself, pretty much. I haven't done it like this, but the groove. Yeah. Yeah, I've got my favorite ones here. And of course, I'm doing this with audio. It's not really the best way to do it. Like if you have MIDI files, it'll just kind of move the notes around. Well, just keep on trying different things, I guess. I put a lot of EQing, and what I do with the EQing is I just look for the character of the sound, and whatever I don't need, I EQ it away. Like every sound has its own character, and it's like the character has to be not exaggerated, but accentuated, I think. Yep. That's what I do. And then I don't know what's going wrong, but it's probably just spending more time coming to classes like this and learning how to mix it. But most of all, just that's what I do sometimes. When I've finished a mix, I just get someone else's music that I really like and just put it in the project, and then just A/B the two. Listen to the one that I really like, who someone else did, and then listen to mine. And then most of the time I get really disappointed. Yeah, it's not just you. I mean, but it's hard because it's your own stuff, and it's hard to be objective about it. And I think if you put the two right next together, you start to hear what's missing. It's either punch or bass or I don't know, clarity, or yeah. I think that's how I would go with it. Just listen to other people's stuff as you're mixing your own. Yeah, and then just trying to get there, you know. And it's easier to hear what you're missing then. Yeah. I hope that kind of helps. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. It just depends on the track. Just you gotta work on it till you're satisfied, and if you're satisfied, don't listen to it for a day or maybe two, and then get back to it. And then that's what I do, and listen to it in the car, and if you're taking the train, put it on your iPhone. And I don't know when you're ready. I don't think anything is ever really ready until it's released. Yeah. That's like I've got tracks which will never ever be finished because I'm never going to release them, and then they kind of float in this area on my hard drive, like projects that are not finished, but you know, yeah, right.
I was just going to ask, so in this session here with you got a bunch of layered drums, like what kind of dynamics processing do you have on your drums? And then what do you have on the master?
I don't know what I did here. I'll take a look. Oh yeah. What I did here was just kind of make it more clear. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's like, yeah. Yeah.
Do you tend to compress individual drum tracks or just do the whole mix through a limiter?
I do individual drum tracks. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what I did here. But what I can tell you is what I do a lot, and this is something that really helped me out when someone else told me, is that especially recording external synths in mono, it's really hard to kind of spread them out in a nice way, to have like some sort of stereo image going on. So what I do is I split it up left and right and put like small adjustments, like a small saturation on one channel and just a bit different on the other channel. And that just really spreads things up, because then left and right sound different. So you get a different feeling. But that's not really, I don't do that with drums, I think. I use the filter a lot too, instead of like EQing. Because pretty like, I only needed the bass for this. So instead of getting an EQ, I just use the filter just to cut off all the high end and just give it like a bump right there. Yeah. But I don't have one method, or I don't really stick to, I don't make my own settings. I just kind of go along with it and see what happens. It's like some drums really need a lot of processing, some drums don't. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody, I don't want to take up too much of your time on this if people don't want to hear that, but I'm really curious what you did with the Pro 1, like in that specific example.
Okay, so first, like, I put the saturator on the left and on the right channel, but as you can see, they're just a bit different. You see what I mean? And then the rest is just EQ. I got a filter. Sidechain, more filter, more filter. I don't even know what that is. I really don't. Yeah, sometimes I just like slap things on, and at the end when I'm like done, I look at it and like, okay, I don't need this, because this track is one of those that's not finished. But all this modulation, that's just done by hand, like on the synth itself. See, that's just how I recorded it. It's yeah. That's also a good one, I think. Like I don't use my kick, my real kick to do the side chaining. I just use like a separate track with a kick or any sound that doesn't go to my master. I just use it. It says sends only. It doesn't go. You don't hear it. I use it as a trigger for the side chaining. So that way, if you end up changing your kick drum, it doesn't influence your track. Yeah. What is it? Yeah, it's like a 606 kick. It's like a dull sound, but it does the job. Yeah. And if you have, I call it duck, and it's always at the bottom, and that's maybe one of the few methods I always use. Yeah. And it's easy because you know it's always there, and like if you want the movement to stop for a second, you just delete one of those blocks, and even if the kick drum's running, it's not going to affect any of your side chaining.
So there's no actual sound coming out of that track.
No, not. It's not. It is, but it's not coming in the mix. It's just triggering effects. Like it's triggering a compressor. Yeah, on many different tracks.
How do you go about using low frequencies like getting the bass and kick to sort of not clash?
This is one of the ways. Yeah, you can use like this track right here, the duck track. If it's the same as your kick, of course, to kind of sidechain the bass and make room for the kick. Yeah. All right. Shall I stop or any more questions? No? All right. Well, thank you.